Welcome, one and all, to the Hammer Territory Podcast. My name is Shawn Coleman. Hope wherever you are and wherever you are listening, you are having an absolutely outstanding start to your week. If you're a Braves fan, it's been a fun 2 days, but I can tell you maybe who's having the most fun tonight. Stephen, they used to talk about the fact that every year the Miami Dolphins would get together and have some type of, big party or have a case of beer, have a cigars together or something like that. The 1972 Dolphins, when the last undefeated team each single season lost in that respective season. Well, you have to think, hey, every time the Braves come close to a no-hitter, Kent Mercker may have himself a cool one or, a cigar or something like that. That's probably not true to wherever Kent Mercker is. Hope you are well, sir. But we mentioned this because tonight was an absolutely spectacular pitching performance from AJ Smith-Shawver, and we're here to break it all down. Stephen, before we do that, good talking with you, partner. Hope all has been well. You are a hard-working man when it comes to the Hammer Territory Podcast.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? We were not planning on doing a show tonight. Obviously, Brad and I just did a show last night, and then Shawn and I did a show on Friday night. And so we were going to take the night off, but listen, AJ Smith-Shawver had other plans, and he was unbelievable tonight. And, we're going to break the news here if you didn't watch the game, but, he didn't give up a hit to the 8th inning. He threw a one-hit, 8-inning shutout. The Reds are a good team. Brad and I talked about this on Sunday. The Reds are an above 500 team. They've got like a plus 35 run differential. They've been a good team all year long. And AJ, it was just really impressive. I thought he found his command late in the game. I didn't think he had his best command early in the game. And then he just kind of got hot and he got settled in. And it was fun to watch. We're going to talk about it more in depth, obviously. But yeah, big game, big win, start of the series against the Reds. And AJ Smith-Shawver with these big starts when they need him, obviously with the injuries in the rotation. So great game from the Braves tonight.
And I think it's all about natural maturation. AJ Smith-Shawver, still 22, 23 years old. I believe he's 22 this season. But the thing that stands out to me, Stephen, is that you're seeing the confidence happen every single start. Coming into a couple years ago when we first caught our glimpse of AJ Smith-Shawver, it was, pretty good fastball, but not the best of command. He had good natural stuff, didn't know where a lot of it was going to go. Last year started to hone it in a little bit, but this season, what has really stood out is he's finally starting to find the complements to the fastball, but now he's not throwing as hard as he once did. He still can dial it up to 96, 97 if he needs to, but he finds his comfort zone in that 94, 95 range. But that splitter has become a very, very effective pitch. One of the best, over a 40% whiff rate on the splitter coming into tonight. One of the most effective, swing and miss pitches out there. And he throws it with confidence early in the count, late in the count, what have you. He throws a pretty heavy dose of them. But that's what I think is standing out. His control still is a work in progress, but you're seeing a pitcher this season, especially over the past couple of starts, Stephen, who really is standing out as having not only confidence in his pitches, but knowing he can throw them at any place at any time in the count for a strike.
Yeah, and people were old enough will remember this with John Smoltz. The splitter is an incredibly effective pitch when you're ahead in the count because by definition the splitter it sinks below the zone very hard, very late, and it's a very tough pitch to lay off when you're behind in the count. And with AJ, when he's ahead in the count, that splitter is so devastating, and we saw it a lot tonight. The problem he has is when he gets behind in the count, obviously the splitter is not a pitch that it rarely ever actually ends up in the strike zone. So when he's behind in the count, guys just don't have to swing at it. And so it's so much more effective when he's ahead in the count. And, early in the game, I thought he was getting behind in the count. He had a couple of walks. Cincinnati had some hard hit balls. I was thinking, well, this is probably going to be a 5-and-dive game for AJ. But around the middle innings, he just got his command. He was in the strike zone a lot more. He started having much more efficient innings. That splitter is just so much better. It's just so much more effective when you're ahead in the count like he was. And I hope tonight is an eye-opening kind of, light bulb goes off kind of moment for him where he's like, man, if I just start every count, if I just, the first 3 pitches I throw, if 2 of them are in the strike zone, that splitter, even major league hitters don't know what to do with that splitter. That splitter is real, and it can take my career to another level if I'm in the zone. And you're right. He does back down off the fastball. He doesn't throw 99, 98 like he used to. I think some of that is command related, quite honestly. I think he commands it better at 94, 95. And it's nice to know you have it in there when you need it. But if it's going to be in the zone more at 94, 95, then I'm okay with him cutting some off, to be in better counts. So, yeah, really impressive night for him, obviously. I really thought we might have something special. It really started feeling like it. He really got his pitch count under control to the point where you thought, man, he could do this. Like if he could do this. And then obviously they got a single in the eighth, and that ended it. But I was impressed. He gave up that single on the first hitter in the eighth inning, and then immediately got 3 outs. A lot of times after you give up that first hit, the air comes out and you give up a 3-run homer, and now it's a game again. And he didn't do that. And that was honestly maybe more impressive to me than the start itself, was how he responded after he gave up the hit to get out of that inning clean. So really, really big time performance from a 22-year-old.
And of course, the Braves had been hoping that, at some point they would not necessarily get a, player to step up like Bryce Elder did, or excuse me, I'm Bryce Elder. We'll get to him in just a second. But like Spencer Schwellenbach did last year. But they were hoping they really needed to see one of their young pitchers step up to deliver, especially early in the season as they were waiting on Spencer Strider to come back. And AJ Smith-Shawver is starting to do that. But it's not just AJ Smith-Shawver. We've talked about Grant Holmes. Friday night, Grant Holmes struck out Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman in a row. Bryce Elder did the same thing and had a really good start. If you look over the past 3 weeks, you start to see Grant Holmes, Bryce Elder, and AJ Smith-Shawver, all 3 of them really start to get some confidence in their pitches and pitch well. And then you look back at the schedule and you're like, over the past 10 games that Bryce Elder, Grant Holmes, or AJ Smith-Shawver have started for the Braves are 9-1. 9-1 on those last 10 starts that those 3 pitchers have pitched. You want to talk about the depth of this starting rotation really starting to step up, especially when Chris Sale has not found his groove yet and Spencer Schwellenbach has run into a bit of a struggle. It's really awesome to see Holmes, Elder, as well as AJ Smith-Shawver step up. And then once you get Strider back, you've now got some depth we've all desperately been wanting for this rotation, especially with how much they lost in the offseason.
Yeah, you might look back at this stretch where those 3 guys kind of kept this team afloat while Sale figured his stuff out, while Schwellenbach figured his stuff out, and while Strider got healthy. You might look back at this stretch as one of the keys to the season if the Braves go on a run and those 3 guys finally find their form, because that's incredible. I mean, when you told me that before we started recording, that's an incredible stat. 9-1. Last 10 games, those 3 guys have started. The offense is some of that, but those guys have pitched well. I mean, I can only think of maybe one time where like the offense had to bail one of those guys out in that stretch. So incredible. And the Braves, I mean, my God, you talk about timing. The Braves desperately needed it. The season was kind of slipping away. They finally went on this run. A lot of it contributed by those 3 guys you just mentioned, and they've kind of righted the ship, and at least, they're not in such dire straits as they were 3 weeks ago. And yeah, if they go on a run after this, then we're going to look back on this stretch where those 3 guys were in the rotation out of pure necessity and delivered like this, because it's been massive. And some tough opponents and some tough parks. These guys have really done well. And so hats off to all 3 of them. The Braves would be in a lot of trouble without these 3 guys, and all of them deserve tons of credit for what they're doing right now.
Absolutely. And we'll discuss a few more players who are definitely deserving of credit right after this message from our partners.
If you want to be bougie and have your own personal shopper, Hungryroot is actually the spot, and you can do it at an affordable price.
Yeah, without a doubt. And especially with my busy schedule with kids on the run all the time, baseball, gymnastics, I need a source that's going to get me going and my kids as well. So I'll pop in an easy chicken parm or grilled chicken, put it in a nice container, get it to go, and the kids are excited, and they're full, and they're nutritional, and it's ready to rock for their games.
There will be snacks that you have never heard of that you will immediately fall in love with. They will pick them out for you if you want. Obviously, you can go on there. You pick all of your preferences. Hungryroot gets the job done. Okay, FT fam? We love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer for a limited time, 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life at hungryroot.com/FT. That's code FT. Hungryroot.com/FT. Code FT for 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. The code is simple. It's 2 letters, FT.
So, Stephen, obviously, when we you talk about the fact that, the season was, kind of teetering on the brink there for a while. And it's been awesome to see how Bryce Elder and Grant Holmes, as well as AJ Smith-Shawver, have really helped to kind of right this ship. Yes, we're still 2 games under 500, but we're humming along at a pretty, better rate than we were. But I go back to April 18th. That was 2 weeks after, we had found out that Jurickson Profar was going to be out for the first half of the season, also out for the playoffs. We were kind of scuffling, would Michael Harris be the leadoff hitter until Ronald came back? Would Ozzie Albies, who would fill in? And then lo and behold, Alex Verdugo comes up. And Verdugo has a good game. He has another good game. And he has another good game. And lo and behold, I know I've said that 2 times now in the past minute, we're now nearly 2.5 weeks into the Alex Verdugo experience. And I know that in recent years he has struggled at the plate, but he is making a huge difference out of that leadoff spot. And it's not like he's putting up otherworldly power numbers or anything like that. He's just consistently putting together good at-bats. Since April 18th, when Alex Verdugo took over the leadoff spot for the Braves, among all the MLB teams, they have a 112 WRC plus out of the leadoff spot. That's 12th among MLB teams out of the leadoff spot since April 18th. But the biggest stat of all that is such an awesome compliment to the rest of this lineup, out of the leadoff spot, the Braves hitters have only struck out 5.8% of the time over the past 2.5 weeks. That's the best strikeout rate out of the leadoff spot in the majors since Verdugo came and joined the Braves. That is such a huge asset to the rest of this Braves lineup. A guy that can put the ball in play, a guy that can put together good at-bats. You had hoped Profar would be that guy, but when he wasn't, Verdugo coming in and maybe even doing better than many of us could have expected Profar to do, it's been awesome to see, and it's been a big reason why our lineup is, again, humming along at a good clip.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the last 2 games. Tonight he had 2 hits and a walk. He was on base 3 times. Last night, he was on base both times when Riley hit his homers. So that, it took 2 solo homers into 2 2-run homers. He's got a 132 WRC plus since joining the team, which is tremendous. I think my favorite Verdugo stat is he's got 6 walks and 4 strikeouts. He's got more walks than strikeouts since joining the team. You don't see a lot of that in this day and age. You don't see a lot of guys, it's not easy to do in today's game to have more walks and strikeouts. He's been everything the Braves needed. And you're right. Everything the Braves kind of thought Profar was going to be at the top of the lineup. He's just been he's got a 385 on base percentage since joining the team. 385. That's like Acuna's average. That's like Acuna's career average. Like that's the level that he normally sits at. So you can't say enough. I mean, this guy was signed in late March for like $2 million. Anybody in baseball could have had Alex Verdugo. Anybody. The Braves didn't exactly go out and have to beat a bunch of teams in a bidding war to get him. And where would they be without him right now? I mean, the outfield was such a disaster. Eli White, Nick Allen have also come along and shored up some black holes that the team had for a long time. The entire outfield was just a disaster for the first 3 weeks of the year. And then Verdugo and Eli White have kind of taken over. And then, Nick Allen at shortstop. I don't know where the Braves would be with that. We talk about the 3 guys. Maybe that's the theme now is, you got these 3 unheralded guys in the rotation in Smith-Shawver, Elder, and Holmes. And you got the 3 unheralded guys in the lineup and Verdugo, Eli White, and Nick Allen. I mean, where would the Braves be without those 6 guys? I mean, not only have the Braves had injuries, but some of their best players have not performed to the level we thought they would. Those 6 guys out of nowhere have kind of righted the ship and helped save the Braves season. And so massive credit to them, massive credit to Alex Verdugo. He did not have the year he wanted with the Yankees last year, obviously did not have a free agency that he wanted. And, if he keeps playing like this, he's going to get a nice payday in the offseason. He's obviously going to be a free agent again. And we've talked about it before. I'm very interested to see what happens when Jurickson Profar comes back, because are you just going to take away starts from Alex Verdugo. I mean, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but like I'm not just taking Verdugo out of the line. I mean, I know Profar makes a lot of money, but like Verdugo's earned the starts he's getting. You're muted. Shawn, you're muted.
Me goodness. Production over pay all day long when it comes to the leadoff spot, especially when it comes to what we kind of know Profar has been, suspended for. I think Profar could definitely be a useful piece, but if Verdugo is doing well, I mean, neither one of them are going to be the leadoff spot, obviously, when Ronald comes back. That's something to remember. So I think that kind of plays into it. But if Alex Verdugo, you're not getting Profar back to the 1st of July. So if Alex Verdugo wants Acuna comes back, if he still has a WRC plus well over 100, he's playing good left field defense. I think you certainly continue to plug and play him. And then, of course, if he falls off, then you could just play Profar. But the other thing that I want to speak to, we've got Verdugo out in left. We've got Nick Allen at shortstop. We've got Eli White out in right field. Something that I don't think is being talked about enough. We talk about what is this team going to do? Where is this team going to be elite in order to win at the rate that it needs to be able to get out of the hole that it started in the season? Well, one elite aspect of this team is the defense. Now, I know that defense overall is tough to measure depending on which metric you use, but I'm a believer in if you see your team among the top 5 in several defensive metrics, that means they're a pretty good defensive team. And that's what this team is. They're up there in terms of outs above average. They're up there in terms of DRS, whatever you want to use as a metric. This Braves team stands out, and right now they're playing some of their best defenders. I know that may go a little bit down once we get Ronald Acuna back and others, but the thing that stands out to me is that bench is still going to be very versatile defensively. Steven, the defense has been huge, and if it can continue to be that way, that's something that can help your pitching staff sustain success to go along with the offense.
Well, Nick Allen is as good a defensive shortstop as I've seen in a Braves uniform, maybe since Andrelton. I know Dansby had some really good years. I don't want to discredit Dansby, but Nick Allen is nasty at shortstop. He made some incredible plays tonight. Made some incredible plays on Sunday. Brad and I talked about it. He's just so solid. And listen, I know he can't hit, and he's not gonna hit. Even though he's running like a 380 batting average of balls in play, he's got like a 80 WRC plus. So like all signs point to the fact that he's not going to hit. But when you play shortstop at that level, like this is what they thought Orlando Arcia was going to be, right? They thought he was going to be this elite defender who can live at the bottom of the lineup and then maybe every once in a while get a big hit and you live with it because the defense is so good. That's Nick Allen to a T. So he's been a godsend on defense. Eli White has been incredible. Obviously, Michael Harris, we're not going to go deep into. I know I have a lot of people tweeting me about Michael Harris, about, are you worried about Michael Harris? What do you think about Michael Harris? His numbers are just absolutely in the toilet. He's got like a 48 WRC plus for the season. There will be time for that. We're not going to talk about that tonight, but he is still an elite defender in center field. And that's to Shawn's point. He does help the defense. Matt Olson is playing unreal defense at first. We haven't talked about that a lot. Murphy is a great defensive catcher. Albies is not a great defensive second baseman anymore, but he's had a decent year over there. Riley is really improved over there. I mean, they are a strong defensive team right now. And listen, when you're not scoring a ton of runs, and they scored 4 runs tonight and scored 4 runs last night, catching the ball, it's a zero-sum game, and keeping runs off the board is just like scoring more runs. So, it's been a huge help. And I think a lot of it starts with Nick Allen and Eli White, who have really helped change the defensive, culture of the team a little bit. And it's been incredible to watch, quite honestly.
Absolutely. And we'll have a few more thoughts on, some notable Braves who are on the field as well as currently off the field, but hopefully on the field soon here in just a moment. Stephen, I'll be honest with you, when it comes to the Braves, I would think that if you were to look of the 10 or 15 guys in the National League who you are most confident would hit 40 home runs, the Braves probably had the 2 that you would be most confident. None of those would be inside the park home runs in Matt Olson as well as Marcell Ozuna. Neither one of them are necessarily a speed merchant on the base pass. But lo and behold, Matt Olson had an inside the park home run tonight. that was the good news. Unfortunately, the bad news was that rookie Tyler Callahan, in only his 4th game for the Reds, made a spectacular effort out in left field. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any updates. It looked like that he had a pretty severe injury to his arm. That's what kind of contributed to Matt Olson's inside the park home run. Seems like he may be out for a while. Certainly want to wish him the best. You hate to see that, especially for someone so early in his career. But I bring that up because I don't. We've seen players get injured before, and that's led to inside the park home runs. The Acuna injury, I think, was the one that stands out to me the most. But it's never one of those things that you like to see. Certainly wishing Tyler Callahan the best.
Yeah, Jazz Chisholm had a inside the park homer when Acuna tore his ACL in Miami in 21. Yeah, that was a nasty injury. The Reds did announce that he fractured his forearm, so he's obviously out for the season. That was nasty. It was a hell of a play. I mean, to make that as close as it was, I saw Reds fans who were adamant that was a catch. I don't think that was I think the umpires got that right. I'm going to actually go back and look and read the rule, but I'm fairly certain the umpires got that right on the ruling. I also saw some Reds fans who were mad that Matt Olson was like running the bases. Like, it's a live ball. Like, your job is to score there. Like, nobody wants to see anybody hurt, but when the ball's, it's a live ball, you got to run. So I thought that was a little ridiculous, but yeah, I mean, that was that was one of the more violent injuries I've seen on a baseball field. That did not involve 2 players colliding or a ball hitting a player. Like, that was nasty. And so, yeah, all the, our thoughts are with Tyler. I mean, he's probably gonna be out for the year, but man, that was nasty. It obviously did help the Braves. It ended up being a 2-run homer. But we never want injuries. I don't care who it is. I don't care what team they play for. You never root for injuries. You never want to see guys get hurt. And hope that dude has a speedy recovery and gets back. It's such a bummer. He literally just came up. Like you said, it was only his 4th game in the majors. Dude's living his dream and then breaks his arm, kind of a freak play. So, yeah, all the best to him. Obviously hope for a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, and I hope he's back on the field as soon as possible. The other thing that was of notable news today was that I know that the last time we spoke on Friday, we just talked about AJ Smith-Shawver, Ronald Acuna Jr. How they had talked about it would probably still be kind of a month or so before we see him on the field. Well, it was announced today at first that he was going to have to go back to LA, get checked out one more time, and after that, probably would have the green light to do a rehab assignment. Well, then it was announced within, I think, about an hour or so that actually he doesn't have to go back to LA. So nothing has really changed on the Ronald Acuna Jr. front, but what was confirmed today was that it literally now is up to the Braves. Whenever the Braves feel that he is ready to get on that rehab assignment, he likely will start that rehab assignment. We won't cover it like we did on Friday. The big thing is that now we're to the point where any day now, still likely going to be a bit of time, but any day now we could hear that Ronald Acuna Jr. will be ready to go. Still likely will be multiple weeks of a rehab assignment to really get him in that game shape, but it's good to see that we're kind of getting to the 10-yard line in the process of his recovery, and there's not been any type of setback. Continues to be positive news, so hopefully sooner rather than later, maybe towards the end of this month, likely early June, it's going to be good to see Ronald back.
Yeah, if nothing else, today's news just meant it might go a little quicker. Obviously the initial plan was he was going to go back to LA, get checked out again. They apparently had a phone call with his surgeon today, and he confirmed that he did not need to see Ronald, that it's kind of up to the team to decide, if he's ready to do a rehab. He's been cleared of everything medically, and now it's just up to the team and Ronald to kind of figure out how quickly he's going to come back. My guess is whenever he starts a rehab stint, it's probably going to be a couple of weeks of rehab games. I'm sure they're going to want to see him play back-to-back games. They're going to want to see him run around. They're going to want to see how he responds after the game the next day, how much movement, how, any limitations, even though we're in early May right now, even if he starts a rehab stint, at the end of the week, or at the beginning of next week, even if it's something that quick, they're going to still take their time. So, yeah, I still think it's going to be end of the month. Probably most likely even into maybe early June. But listen, Brad and I talked about this. No, there's very few players in baseball that use their legs as much as Ronald. And I don't just mean running, stolen bases, speed. I mean when hitting. The dude is an entire like lower half hitter. That's how he can hit a ball so far, being this, weighing 180 pounds. I mean, he's a entire lower half hitter. He uses his legs for everything. So it's worth it. It's worth waiting. It's worth taking the extra time to make sure he's got his legs. It was a good update today, but I have no interest in rushing this thing. Make sure that when you get Ronald back, he's got those legs. He feels comfortable and confident in them, because they are quite literally the key to his entire game. And, we want to see vintage Ronald back. We don't want to see, kind of a shell of what he can be. So you want to wait. You want to make sure you're patient and he comes back fully healthy.
Absolutely. And again, as we've discussed before, you want Ronald not only fully healthy, but to be confident in the fact that he's fully healthy. That's going to be your best formula.
And it is a lot of it's mental. It really is.
Yeah.
And one good thing is he's done it before. This is not his first time, but 100%. A lot of it is mental.
Yeah. And that's what's going to give you the best avenue to get the Ronald that we all know and love back as soon as possible. Well, let's talk about this. And I want to give a little bit of an apology. I kind of think I sold them a bit short to the Reds. The Reds are a really good pitching team. Like, their starting staff is one of the best in baseball. So if you're a fan of pitching, the remainder of this series is going to have plenty of good pitching matchups. Tomorrow, Andrew Abbott versus Chris Sale. Chris Sale, of course, coming off his best start of the season. Hunter Green versus Grant Holmes on Wednesday, and then Spencer Schwellenbach versus Nick Lodolo on Thursday. What stands out to me is this. The starting staff is going to have to remain on the top of their game throughout this entire series, Stephen. But the offense, what separates these two teams, the Braves offense is better. So this pitching staff is going to need to continue to do well. But this Braves offense, especially scoring runs early in the game, like they have over the past couple of games, if they can give their starters room to work, we should be able to see good results. This is a series, since you won the series opener, you could take 3 or 4, and that'll be a massive, massive, massive response coming off what you did, losing 3 straight to the Rockies and the Dodgers. So it's right there for you, but you can't let off. Starting staff's got to be good. Bullpen has to be crisp. But what separates this team from the Reds is the offense. The offense is going to have to stand tall at the end of the day.
Yeah, listen, you got Chris Sale, Grant Holmes, and Spencer Schwellenbach pitching the next 3 games. At home, I think the Braves have more talent than the Reds. The Reds have played better than the Braves this year, but I think the Braves have more talent. Like, now that you've won the first one, you can reasonably go out and expect you need to win 2 of the next 3 games. With your 3 best guys going, the Reds have struggled on offense this year, especially away from home. They do have a really good pitching staff. It is a good team, but you have Sale, Holmes, Schwellenbach next 3 games. The offense looks better than it did in those 2 frustrating games against the Rockies and Dodgers. Go win 2 or 3. Go win 2 of the next 3. Win the series. And then go, the schedule lightens up a little bit and you can make some hay again. But it'd be really disappointing. At this point, when coming into the series, a split would have been a reasonable outcome, again, with 2 good teams. But now that you've won game 1, you can be a little greedy, like 3 or 4. That's fine. We should be aiming for that now. And if you win the next one, then, maybe you can even look at a sweep. But at this point, I think it's reasonable to say anything less than 3 out of 4 would be disappointing, with your 3 best pitchers going next against an offense that struggled. So, yeah, I 100% agree. Go win 3 or 4, get some momentum, get into an easier part of your schedule, maybe get some better and better news on Acuna and Strider, and let's get this thing rolling.
Absolutely. And if you can put together another series win, especially 3 or 4, you're going to have another tough series against another team that's, starting to play better in the Astros. But hey, you sit there, you put together another, you win 4 out of 5, basically going into that Astros series. Now you're staring 500 in the face and really starting to see your season turn around. Stephen, anything else you have for us on this edition of the Hammer Territory podcast?
No, I know you guys have seen us a lot. We don't typically do this many shows this soon, but obviously AJ Smith-Shawver was so good tonight. We could not talk about it. And so credit to him. What a game. What an awesome, best game of his career. I haven't even looked that up, but I'm almost positive that was the best game of his career. Only 22 years old, tons of talent. Keep commanding that fastball, use that splitter as a weapon. And man, the sky's the limit for AJ. He's got all the talent in the world. So unbelievable game, a lot of fun, really fun game to watch. And keep it going, boys. Let's win at least 2 of the next 3, win this series, and then go from there.
Listen, us being a part of the Foul Territory family, that's just a year and a few days old. This honestly has been one of the better months of baseball that we've seen in our time covering the Braves. So, hey, if we're going to be able to talk about stuff quite a bit, it's much more fun to talk about them when they're doing well than not so well. You can find me at StatsSAC on Twitter. You can find Steven Tolbert at B_Outliers. One of the best when it comes to covering the Braves. Hammer Territory across all forms of social media. Foul Territory, part of the great family of podcasts at Foul Territory. Find it all over social media as well. Until next time, for Shawn Coleman and Steven Tolbert, as always, go Braves. We'll talk to you again soon here on the Hammer Territory podcast.